Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday now, and this is Innoprom Online and our weekly industrial environment session. Those who speak Russian know that environment and Wednesday sound the same in Russian. That's why the title is. Innoprom Online is supported by the government of Sverdlovsk region. We have already announced that the next Innoprom trade show will happen in the city of Yekaterinburg on the 6th and till 9th of July 2021. So please be optimistic as we are and put this event into your calendars and agenda for next year. The theme of our session today is Industrial Dialogue Russia-Sweden, and we have very impressive panel of experts today. Swedish business and Swedish brands have the highest possible reputation in the Russian business community and even in the Russian public society. Innoprom is very proud that Swedish business is very well aware of our platform. We remember that CEO of Volvo Trucks, Mr. Martin Lundstedt, spoke twice in our conferences a few years ago, and my colleagues and me do remember his excellent comments and presentation. As I said, we are lucky to have many excellent speakers today from Sweden and Russia, and let me introduce them. Her Excellency Malena Mörd, Ambassador of the Kingdom of Sweden in the Russian Federation. Vladimir Dmitriev, Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Russian Federation. Patrick Antoni, General Manager, Inca, Russia. We're all admirers of IKEA brands. Anton Bazulev, Vice President, International Projects from Rusal. Hamish Bennett, Vice President and Head of Product Management from Scania. Yelena Bodnarchuk, Vice President and of International Development from Hevel Group. Klas Sandren, Director of International Development from AB Volvo. Mikhail Timofeev, Production Director, EcoVolt Project, Morsvязь Automatica. Kai Möller, President of Sweco International. Sergei Ulasevich, Board Member, Shareholder of SSE Engineering. Magnus Blomberg, Senior Director, Swedish Biomanufacturing Center, AstraZeneca Global Biologics. And Carl Merlin, Director General, Swedish Technology and Financial Development. And with very special pleasure, I would like to introduce the moderator of this session, the person who inspired this session, Alexander Abramov, Trade Representative of the Russian Federation in the Kingdom of Sweden. But first of all, we have really this great honor. May I ask the ambassador of the Kingdom of Sweden in Russia to greet our audience and speakers. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you very much. And it's, as you said, extremely great honor for me to be able to be here and also, I hope, promote Swedish and Russian business ties, which I think is extremely important, not least in these challenging times. And I would like to begin by thanking the Russian trade representation in Sweden and, of course, Innoprom Online for giving us this opportunity. Let me start by saying that I think that Sweden and Russia comes from a strong base and a solid tradition of being neighbors, being able to cooperate and work with each other. And I think this is a positive base to build from. And I hope also that we will, from this, go forward. I would like to highlight, especially as you mentioned, that I am proud that we are here in Russia very well known. And I can say that the Swedish Embassy each year asks a renowned Russian polling institute to a little bit look into the image of Sweden in Russia. And over the years, and not least last year, we saw it was overwhelmingly positive. And that has a lot to do also, of course, with the Swedish brands, the Swedish companies and the Swedish products. You've already mentioned IKEA, but I am glad to say that we have a lot of Swedish brands from Volvo to Scania to Ericsson to Oriflame that is recognized by the Russian public. And I also want to highlight that what we've seen in this opinion polls is that Sweden is increasingly connected also with the brand of being good when it comes to environmental solutions, when it comes to putting good environmental solutions, climate, and everything connected with that high on the agenda. And I think this is also something that we want to build on increasingly between Sweden and Russia, because I know that this is also questions that are higher and higher on the political agenda and also on the business agenda in Russia. So I think that's one of the important bases we have to build on. There are 500 Swedish companies in the Russian market and has been so for quite some time. Sweden is among the larger foreign direct investors in Russia. We have seen, of course, trade decreasing due to, I think, as we all know, the pandemic. And I think that's why it's so important that we here today try to together see what we can do to tackle challenges that we know are there for quite some time to be, but also look at what we can do together to increase trade and economic cooperation, because we know that both in Russia and in Sweden and globally, this is what brings growth, and growth is what brings wealth to our citizens. And of course, representing Sweden, we know that we have to be competitive. We have a very strong export industry, but we have to constantly look at our competitive advantage, our competitive edge. And of course, in that perspective, I think there is a lot that we see in the Russian market that we want to build on. To just point to one sector, digitalization. As you know, we have a strong Swedish brand and a strong Swedish brand with large connections with Russia in the form of the company Ericsson. But digitalization is so much wider. And I think here we have seen also in the footsteps of the pandemic that all across companies are very quickly adopting to new realities. This is something I think we need to also see as one of the possible areas for deeper cooperation between Sweden and Russia. And of course, I want to mention especially what is on the top of Sweden's agenda, and that is circular economy. That is connected with climate, that is connected with trying to reduce emissions, carbon emissions. And let me point out that Sweden wants to be one of the really champions in this area. This is something that we also feel a strong interest in from the population and for our companies that are now trying in very, I think, interesting ways moving forward on this agenda, trying to be champions in these areas in, I think, sectors that is interesting also from a Russian perspective. Just to mention one, forestry. And I think it goes without saying that Russia has the world's largest forestry reserves, but this is also one of the traditional sectors that Sweden work a lot in. The other one is, of course, steel industry, the backbone to a large extent of a lot of Swedish industries, where we are moving forward to try to reduce carbon emissions, I think is a very interesting ways. I also want to mention another area where I see large potential and where we started an interesting cooperation between Sweden and Russia, and that's in the healthcare sector. We have seen that in our trade before the pandemic hit, that pharmaceutical products from Sweden was one of the export products that grew a lot. We know that we have Swedish companies such as AstraZeneca, but also a lot of others, and also in the wider sphere of healthcare, care of the elderly, that I think is interesting solutions, and that I think is also questions very much on the agenda here in Russia. So with that, I don't in any way want to take away the challenges we are facing. We all know them, and I know the business community, not least, have had a lot of these challenges very much on the agenda when it comes to, for instance, traveling. We know that borders are closed. This is a challenge, I think, for companies on both sides when it comes to getting top managers, but also specialists, also adopting to new realities with service contracts. This is something that we have a very good cooperation with our colleagues in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Second European Department And I think we have found some good solutions, but this is something that we continue to work on, of course, and trying in different ways to see what we can do to, as I said, increase trade, increase economic cooperation, which I think is in both interests. So with that, I look forward to an interesting discussion. Are of course ready to answer questions. And talking about Sweden and Russia, please also be aware that on Thursday we have a match between our football teams and here in Moscow, and I think this is one of the aspects also, people-to-people contacts. Before the pandemic hit, we saw an increased interest also in tourism in our respective countries, and I'm sure we will be back to that because there is a lot that connects us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Very inspiring beginning for us. And Alexander, since you are the author of the idea of this session, can I ask you how you come up to this discussion? What was your rationale when you invited these particular speakers? Alexander?
And actually, it was pretty simple. Knowing the fact that by the year of 1930, the world's population was around 2 billion people. In 44 years, by 74, it doubled, and it will take 3 more years to make it 4 times larger than in 1930. So in a couple of years, we'll become the world population of 8 billion people. And of course, all this drives to the increasing demand of services and goods provided, and they only could be managed by the sustainability in a sustainable way. So, and it is a question now that we have to save our planet and our environment, not only for future generations, but even for our kids. And it's obvious now that I would say the way we influence our planet is pretty strong. So we have respected companies here which are having and putting their efforts into the sustainability and would like to hear what their companies are doing in terms of sustainable development.
Thank you, Alexander. And before you will start talking to your guests, may I ask you a few questions? And maybe this is one question. Are you happy of the current status of the industrial dialogue between Russia and Sweden? Because from very, very unprofessional view, but maybe this is true as well, Sweden focuses on exporting goods with high proportion of product design and technologies, and Russian export to Sweden is still mainly the standard range of raw materials. Do you see the potential? Where do you think might be the niches for Russian manufacturers in Sweden? And maybe part of this question, the recent case with Quintus Technologies provoked a lot of discussions here. And do you see more opportunities than obstacles in Russian-Sweden industrial dialogue? Alexander.
Yeah. I would answer that I would like to save the time for speakers as well to speak and to introduce their projects, which will tell what is the potential in the cooperation. But it is obvious that the business have to communicate more and to understand each other's demands and needs, and that's what the trade representation here for. So I would answer that shortly to just give the time to the other speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Better communications is the answer. And Alexander, please take the discussion and manage the dialogue.
Yeah, and we will now pass the word to Vladimir Dmitriev. Vladimir?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I will make a short presentation being in 2 capacities. So I think I have all rights to occupy your time a little bit longer, because I'll represent not only Chamber of Commerce and Industries of the Russian Federation as the Vice President, but as well as the co-chair of Russian-Swedish Business Council. And I enjoy sharing this position with my friend Martin Lundstedt, who is a chair of the Swedish side of Swedish-Russian Business Council. So really, dear forum participants, dear friends, dear colleagues, dear partners, we are holding this forum in unusual environment in spite of obvious restrictions and impediments to the normal course of our life and activities caused by COVID-19. We are lucky to maintain our dialogue in online format. In that regard, I would like to welcome the initiative of the Russian Ministry of Industry and Trade and the Russian trade representation in Sweden to host today's INAPROM event. And I'm also thankful to our Russian and Swedish colleagues and friends who supported this idea and are with us today. INAPROM has become a unique forum for demonstrating how Russia and other participating countries meet increasing challenges of industrial digital era, and the platform for informing our partners about governmental policies of attracting investors and enhancing industrial cooperation. It's of great value for INAPROM that our Swedish colleagues always participate in this forum, and many Swedish companies are well represented at INAPROM. Russia and Sweden have chosen different approaches how to counteract pandemics. In Russia, both president and the government and business were united in jointly elaborating comprehensive measures to minimize negative effect of COVID-19 on economic development and various industries. Special focus was aimed at assisting small and medium enterprises. From the very beginning, the Chamber of Commerce and Industries of the Russian Federation was actively involved in this process. Today, Chamber of Commerce and Industries consists of 180 regional chambers, more than 300 sectoral business organizations on federal level, and more than 500 similar associations on regional level, and more than 52,000 companies as direct members. With this unique membership infrastructure, the Chamber managed to monitor the situation on site around the country and provide our government with adequate proposals, which were finally included into the National Plan of Economic Recovery. The proposals comprise such issues as taxation, foreign economic and customs regulations, credit policy, leasing, labor migration policy, digital economy, education, employment support, and so on. There are around 140 proposals altogether which were provided to the government. Without any doubts, the pandemic forced us to look at our usual way of life from the new perspective. Today, we are witnessing just how vulnerable we are, how defenseless the world is against the new challenges. It would have seemed that the pandemic should unite us in front of new threat, reconcile our differences, reduce some tensions in the political dialogue. Unfortunately, that's not what's happening. And that, in turn, has a negative effect on business climate and opportunities for further development planning. In our view, the return to the previous pace of development and reaching new frontiers can only be made possible by looking at the crisis not as threat, but as new opportunities, by nourishing open and extensive cooperation on all issues of economic agenda. In this context, we consider today's industrial dialogue, Russian-Sweden, as very timely. Business cooperation has always been a very important element of the Russian-Swedish relations. In fact, Sweden is one of the most recognizable brands on the Russian market and among Russians. IKEA products, Tetra Pak packages for liquids, Volvo cars and trucks, Scania trucks, Ericsson telecommunication, Oriflame cosmetics, and many others have become an integral part of the daily life in Russia. We consider this as an example of an undeniable success of bilateral business cooperation. 4 companies with Swedish capital are members of the Foreign Investment Advisory Council, chaired by the Russian Prime Minister, ABB, AstraZeneca, SET, and Tetra Pak. That's the obvious evidence of the importance of the opinion of Swedish businessmen for the Russian government. We welcome revitalization of Russian-Swedish intergovernmental dialogue on economic issues in this very tense geopolitical and constrained environment. Russian Minister of Industry and Trade, Denis Manturov, and Swedish Foreign Trade Minister Anna Hallberg, being co-chairs of the Russian-Swedish Steering Committee for Trade and Economic Cooperation, had online talks on June the 8th, where they discussed respective important matters. Unfortunately, we're long away from previous numbers of mutual trade that we had in 2013, when it exceeded $10 billion US dollars. This year, there will be further decline in trade in line with the general trends of the pandemic-influenced international trade. The Russian Chamber of Commerce and Industries pays great attention to further development of business cooperation with Sweden. The Russian-Swedish Business Council, which I have the pleasure of being a chair of on the Russian side, is established under auspices of our Chamber of Commerce and Industries. And meetings with Swedish business leaders at Chamber's premises have become a tradition. In these meetings, we discuss both daily issues and plans to further develop business cooperation between the two countries. The Chamber actively takes part in an annual business dialogue Russian-Sweden in the framework of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. The potential of business cooperation between Russia and Sweden is far from being utilized. The establishment of Östkontoret, Eastern Office in Stockholm, is a sign that Swedish businessmen are of the same opinion. This office comprises major Swedish companies working with Russia and in Russia. Östkontoret and Swedish Embassy in Russia initiated another meeting with leading Swedish companies based in Russia and working with Russia at the embassy's premises in the end of this month. And we appreciate very much this initiative. First of all, we need a constant information exchange about the opportunities and needs of Russian and Swedish companies and economies, investment climates, market access conditions, tenders, new technologies. We are prepared to use the whole Chamber of Commerce and Industries ecosystem to distribute business information about Sweden among our members. What we in the Chamber and in our business council should concentrate our efforts on is to further promote and support Swedish direct investments into Russia, enhance localization of production, utilize opportunities brought by new legislation on protecting investments. We welcome very much intention of our Swedish partners to maintain and develop cooperation with Russian small and medium enterprises as their subcontractors and business partners, especially in innovative spheres. It goes without saying that we want to see more Russian companies exporting their non-raw materials related goods with higher added value to Sweden. And we are going to support such businesses jointly with Russian Export Center based on our cooperation agreement with this entity. Russian regions are now more attractive to foreign partners and they are becoming more and more involved in international cooperation. In this regard, we welcome Days of Sweden held in Kaliningrad in April last year, where our local Chamber of Commerce actively participated. In February this year, St. Petersburg Chamber of Commerce organized a business mission of 7 Swedish companies that were interested in imports from local businesses. We are prepared to assist Swedish companies wherever they go in Russia. And of course, for these purposes, we are dedicated partners to the Swedish Embassy and Business Sweden in organizing these events. Today, we have a rich program ahead. We have truly important questions on the agenda. This successful discussion will enable us to resume business activities quicker and define ways for better utilizing the existing potential of economic cooperation between our countries. I wish all the participants great success and keep yourself safe. Thank you.
Well, Vladimir, thanks a lot. And now we'll go to Patrick. And I will pose the question, and it will be asked to almost all the participants. But knowing the fact, Patrick, that correct me if I'm wrong, IKEA is consuming almost 1.5% of legal roundwood worldwide, and it has the intention to increase its activity. So what are the leading technologies which are changing your industry? What kind of partnerships or new ideas or materials you look for, not only in Russia but abroad as well, so everybody will be aware of what your company is working on? Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Great to be here with all of you today. I really appreciate it. Great initiative to take to bring Swedish and Russian businesses and key opinion leaders together. I hope I will build a little bit on what Malena talked about around sustainability and sustainability initiatives, as well as the collaboration possibilities and innovation. So our vision, which is common for Inca, which is the role I have, which is IKEA, and it's mega in Russia. So both the IKEA businesses, which is the home furnishing, as well as mega malls, which are shopping centers or meeting places, which we operate around the country. We are here to create a better everyday life for the many people. Just a quick sum up of what we do in Russia. So we have three areas. One is what is called the Inca Group, which is retail, where we operate our 16 IKEA stores around Russia. We have our centers, which is 14 mega centers, which are big shopping malls, which we call meeting places nowadays, with about 2 million square meters of retail. We have a wholesale company. What is not so well known maybe is that we actually also purchase and produce in Russia quite a lot. So we have a purchasing organization that works with around 55 Russian suppliers that produces goods for us, as well as we have 4 factories on our own, which are under the name of IKEA Industry. And a quite fun fact is that we stand for 25% of Russia's furniture export, actually, which is quite interesting, I think, for many to know. The Econo Group, which is our partner in banking and so on, that is here working with retail banking. As in numbers, you can say that we have about 4 billion euros worth of investments in Russia, comprising of these 16 stores and 14 mega malls. We have a very large shopping distribution center just outside of Moscow, which is the largest automated distribution center actually in Europe. It's over 1 kilometer long and a very fascinating experience to visit. We have, as I said, 4 IKEA factories, 50 suppliers. We have 13,500 people working for us in Russia. And through the supply chain, when we talk about home furnishing suppliers, it's more than 60,000 people that are producing IKEA products in Russia. And about 7 billion rubles of exported goods to other IKEA markets, which makes Russia a possible and very good export market. But we believe that there is a lot more to do on that side. But it's going ahead. We see 3 roads where we need to focus on to become successful in the near future. It's make IKEA more affordable for those people who cannot afford IKEA today. Although we have a broad network and we reach many people, we have about, I think, 1 billion customers or visitors per year in our stores. There are still many people out there who cannot afford IKEA today. And we need to find new ways of both producing furniture, sourcing furniture, and making it more affordable. We also want to reach more and interact with more people wherever they are. This is, of course, a lot around the digital journey and how we can become a true omni-channel player and reach many people either through a physical touchpoint or through a digital touchpoint. And the third really important area is to create a positive impact for people, society, and the planet. And all of these 3 areas really needs innovation and collaboration to be successful. Today, I will focus on number 3, which is around the people and planet positive. And the reason for this is that it is probably the biggest common problem we're standing in front, all of us together now. The climate change is here, and we have come to the conclusion that there's no more point in arguing with those who do not believe that the climate change is here. We need to act as a company, and we need to make our contribution to make it happen. So today I will focus a bit on our wishes and ambitions in this area. We have three topics we talk about when we say people and planet positive. One is around health and sustainable living. It's where we look at the consumers out there and how we can make them change, to inspire them to both live in a more sustainable way when it comes to electricity consumption, to water consumption, to the waste sorting, but also around food and lifestyle. It's around circular and climate positive, where we really go into becoming a totally circular company with a climate positive situation already by 2030. And it's about lowering our carbon emission. And it's about fair and inclusive, where we talk about equality and to be inclusive with the many people, so that we are a brand that can inspire others to invite more people to be part of the journey. When I now today will focus more is into the circular and climate positive agenda, and it's around our strive to be for zero waste and being 100% circular. It's around renewable energy, where we want to be 100% powered by renewable energy. And it's around the EVs that will produce home delivery for our customers. First out, recycled and renewable materials. We have committed to only use renewable or recycled materials by 2030. This is, of course, a very important step if we want to become circular. Today, as an example, we sort 70% of the waste in our Russian stores, and it's becoming recycled. However, there is still 30% that today is impossible to recycle. We have started to create closed loops within our own society, which is about cardboard, it's around wood, where we now make products out of our own waste. And we've started some take-backs where we take back furniture, any furniture that people have. We're starting to bring back into our own supply chain, making chips out of it and producing new boards. We're taking back textiles, we're taking back paper. So there's a few areas where we really now close the loop when it comes to production, but it's not enough. Yeah. So for us in Russia, if we really want to be successful and if we really want to increase the amount of products produced in Russia, we need to get availability of recycled raw material. And here we talk about plastics, metal, and wood, so that we can buy this material and use it in our own supply chain. And here there is a big request to Russia. How can we together push this agenda to create recycled material? There's also a root cause in this. I think it's the waste management. We have on 12 out of 14 megas shopping malls today, we have recycling points, hugely popular by the people in the communities living around our sites. And they come there and they sort in about 12 different fractions their waste that we can take care of. But if we don't start this on a larger scale, bringing recycling as a part of everyday life for the many people, we don't believe we can really get access to the raw material that will be needed for not only our industry, but all industries in the future will need to rely much more on recycled materials. And also here, there's a new concept that is around the extended or ERM, extended responsibility for manufacturers, that is not really supporting this. And we really would like to say that please focus on creating strong recycling procedures and chains so that we and other producers can get access to this very valuable material, which is key for a circular economy going forward. Another key issue is, of course, renewable energy. In Russia, this is a bit of a difficult topic, of course, in the sense of that we have so much oil and gas, and it's a very powerful source, and it's an important part of the economy. However, Russian companies who want to compete on the international arena will sooner or later also need to look at how they are powered their factories, how they power their units, and it will be needed to be done many times in renewable energy. And we have a goal of 100% renewable energy throughout the entire value chain. We have started on our own, trying to install solar panels. We have bio boilers, we have some windmills. It's a little bit of a test, you can say. It's starting, it's proving itself to be viable within a 10-year horizon of investments. However, it's needed to be more. So we, of course, need to inspire the whole energy generation to take big steps. Today, I believe it's about 1% of the total Russian energy that is made from renewable sources, and we need to move this together. We need to allow for on-site micro generation and see how that easily can be connected to the grid. We need to sort out the green energy certificates. I know it's work going on there, but how can we secure that the companies can show their will and buy green energy? How can we make customers or consumers choose green energy instead of other energy? So here, it's a big area where we really would like to inspire to dialogue. And we have a goal by 2025 to have all our home deliveries around the world made by electrical vehicles. This is quite key, we believe, because many of these home deliveries are done in the big cities around the world, and of course in Russia also, with our presence in, I think, 11 cities. And today, there is very little infrastructure around EVs in Russia. There's no access to vehicles, almost. And we're a bit puzzled how we're going to make this happen by 2025. We're running a pilot with a few smaller delivery vehicles. So we're trying some gas repurposed vehicles as well. But it's not enough. We will need hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of EVs only in Moscow. And we know that there are many other retailers like us that would like to move from diesel-powered cars into EVs, especially for home deliveries, because it's just really straight into the heart of the cities. Yep. So why we're here today and the way forward as we see? I really want to invite the people who have interests in the areas where we've spoken about today. It's around recycled raw materials. It's around renewable energy. It's around the EVs. Who are the like-minded people? How can we inspire the many people in Russia to move in these directions? Who are the key stakeholders we need to talk to in order to move this? Can we create discussion forums together to move these topics? Because I really want us together to make the dream possible of a really sustainable future where we all, businesses and government and key opinion leaders together, take the responsibility and make the dream possible. So this is my input to today's discussion. I'm looking forward to some questions and discussions. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Patrick. It was very interesting. I would have to only disagree with one thing that about us having only 1% of renewable, which is if you take hydro, so it's around 17, as I believe now. And for that, on this stage, we will pass to Anton, which is actually consumes most of that hydro energy. Thanks, Patrick. Anton?
Thank you very much, Alexander. And thank you also for organizing this important and I think very timely event. We cannot connect to Swedish partners and communicate freely for a long time already, so it's a very good initiative. And I would tell you also a few words to complement to what Patrick just said, and also to tell you that Rusal is the #1 supplier of primary aluminium to the world's market, and one of the most low carbon producers in the world, because more than 95% of our metal is born with hydropower, which contributes about 40% of cost of production of aluminium. That meaning it's one of the most important sources of CO2 emission in the process of production. Our per capita per ton emission is less than 3 tons per ton of aluminium, while average in the world is more than 10. It's 12 to 14 tons. And for European market, where we see now a dramatic change and shift towards the green recovery and green economics, we supply about 20% of its need in primary aluminium. The main clients of our products are hundreds of European downstream small and medium-sized businesses operating in packaging, in car parts manufacturing, in construction and other sectors of the EU economy, and employing more than 200,000 people through Europe, or about 90% of the workforce in the current aluminium industry in Europe. So aluminium industry in Europe is mostly a processing industry. And this is one of the rare examples, I would say, when we deliver one of the most rare but most well-known examples when Russia delivers low carbon solutions to Europe. While we can find several more, I'm sure, but we have to cooperate more and enlarge our mutual dialogue to find low carbon solutions in our economy. Rusal is for the long time committed into the green economy and low carbon economy most of the way. Last July, Rusal, together with our mother company EN Plus, presented the Green Aluminium Vision. This is a policy and a proposal to the European clients and policymakers to continuously improve the status of aluminium as an environmentally friendly and climate resilient material, and develop a new asset class of green aluminium, which will be low carbon and environmentally sustainable. As a strategic material for a future sustainable economy. The company supports the goals of EU Green Deal, and to that extent it promotes the consumption of low carbon goods and sustainable solutions. Rusal operates several smelters, most of them are located in Russia, in Siberia, but we have an outstanding, I think, example of cooperation with Swedish companies. We have with Swedish state, we have the smelter in Sweden. It's called Kubal. That's the country's only primary aluminium facility. It's located in Sundsvall. It was built, by the way, in 2046 and was revamped in the 80s and 90s. And we have invested more than $250 million in its modernization, raising the plant energy efficiency, environmental performance. Currently, Kubal is one of the lowest carbon footprint around the European peers. Its 1 and 2 scope emissions are about 2.9 CO2 per ton, while average European is 7.6. The plant is an important partner for large European clients. 50% of its production, which is about 150,000 ton rests, stays in Sweden, and another part goes to European clients. We basically are proud of our low carbon footprint in terms of production, but unfortunately for the cost of production, still we see one of the also leading levels of cost, and this is largely the issue and the problem of the European primary aluminium industry, whereby in the last 40 years there was not one single new greenfield development in the primary aluminium segment, and the production in Europe drops constantly, and now only 25% of European needs is satisfied by the local production. However, this is the feature of several very important economic changes that you, I'm sure, all know for the European industrial acumen. We are certainly trying to revamp the plant technologically and advance it in all the possible spheres, and look for further improvement possibilities. While our company is also one of the technological leaders in the industry, and currently we are testing the technology of a carbon-free production of primary aluminum, which is called the technology of inert anodes. Introducing this technology into production will lead to a complete elimination of greenhouse gas and hydrocarbon emissions while emitting oxygen instead of CO2, which sounds a little bit like a miracle. However, we already have a prototype which is tested in Russia, and who knows, maybe at some point further on we will be able to place it even at Kubal. The company aims to further increase its sustainability, but I would emphasize that current development is not possible for such companies as Kubal without intervention and without constant monitoring and policy improvement from the European and also Swedish authorities. We are in discussion, and we are happy to discuss even further the issues that we put forward in front of the government of Sweden. One of the most acute questions of Kubal is power supply. Also, we are seeking compensations of direct emission costs under the EU ETS system. We are also discussing the energy transition costs for the plant to be reduced or subsidized, and to have additional tax cuts. We would certainly welcome a continuation of this dialogue and hope that the example of Kubal will not be one of the last standing and further falling down primary productions in Europe. Of course, we are able and we are prepared to supply Sweden from our Russian operations, but we also mindful of local industrial development, and as you see, it's already pretty sustainable, and we have contributed materially into the sustainability of this plant. In the last more than 10 years, when Rusal is the owner of it, while we are prepared to take this road further, subject to support and good cooperation with Sweden. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anton. I just had an idea that, trading the aluminium from Russia to Sweden will certainly increase our trading volumes, and that might be a good idea as well. And as I would like to kindly ask our all participants to try to keep in time, which we are already over schedule, and as we pass to Hamish Bennett from Scania. Hamish, please.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Hamish Bennett from Scania, and of course Russia is a very important market for Scania, so I very much appreciate the opportunity today to talk to you. I'm hoping everyone can hear me now, and also very soon see the screen here. So I will be continuing on the sustainability theme then, and focus on basically electrification, and mention some of the key parts of our electrification strategy, and also present our product offering for you. So firstly, our strategy then, there's 3 points I wanted to mention today then, and the first one is regarding the science-based targets, which we're committing to. The second one is about actually there's a lot of discussion about when customers are ready to take on electrification, and here we're committed to being ready when the customers are ready. So this I'm also coming back to. And then the third thing is about how we're going to utilize the Scania modular system to make sure we can really have a very broad offering of electrified products out in the market. So if I start with the science-based targets, this is basically all about driving ambitious corporate climate action. And it's really where we're committing to the Paris Agreement, actually. So the Science-Based Targets Initiative as such is about different corporate entities combining carbon reduction targets with climate science. There's over 500 companies committed. Scania is actually the first OEM in the commercial vehicles industry to have defined the targets. And here we are committing to a minus 50% reduction in carbon dioxide on our operations, so our own Scania operations, and then actually minus 20% on the vehicles, so the vehicles that are being used in real operations, a minus 20% reduction to 2025 then. So for us, electrification is very much about achieving these initiatives where we see that zero emission vehicles are of course essential in reaching the science-based targets. The second part of the strategy is really about when it's going to happen. And as I say, Scania's strategy is to have a product offering in place for when we believe that the customers are there to pay for them and to utilize the vehicles in a good way. So what's actually affecting when it's going to happen? This is one of the hot topics continually discussed at Scania. When are we really getting into the transition? And what we can see here and now is that it is happening. It's happening already today. It's happened in the bus applications and happening, and then the next step is really that it's going to start happening in the urban environment where there's a lot of focus on emissions, and actually we're seeing a positive business case for the customers to actually switch over to electrified vehicles. The big things that are really affecting when it is going to happen is of course the charging infrastructure. So we see a lot of political decisions need to be made. A lot of investment decisions need to be made to really make sure that there's an infrastructure in place. The battery pricing and also the energy density of the batteries, that's one of the key factors to really create a competitive offer, of course, and also make sure that it's going to work in the sort of logistics systems we have today, because you need to be able to have a certain range on the vehicles to make it work, quite simply. The next thing is, of course, the price on electricity compared to other alternative fuels and diesel, of course. And this is varying a lot between markets, so this is going to also affect a lot. And the final thing is incentives, where we see some countries are really leading the way here with fantastic incentives in place. And this is, of course, helping us a lot short term to get sales, but it's going to be one of the key components moving forward as well to really make this happen. So really the message is here that, yes, it is happening. It's happening here and now. And Scania has an offer in place, especially for the bus applications and for urban distribution, which I will come to further into the presentation. So the next part of our strategy is really about how we utilize the Scania modular system. And this is what we call basically a system where we build vehicles based on a number of different components. We have standardized interface, meaning that we can combine the components in many different ways to create basically an infinite number of vehicles, depending on the customer's unique options and choices, and their, of course, application, how they want to use the vehicle. So this is the modular system, and basically our strategy is really to develop the system to include electrified components. And this basically automatically gives us for free a very wide offering of products to the different customer needs out there on the market. So we're introducing, of course, the without engine option. We have the electrified vehicles without the internal combustion engine. We have electric machines, which are going to be connected to the gearbox for hybrid solutions, and then actually sort of separate electric machines for the electrified vehicles. And then, of course, the batteries, which is going to be the key component of the future, of course, for us. So the modular system is key for Scania to really reach out to a broad target group out on the market. If we then look at our product offering then, basically Scania, we're going to have three different offerings. We have the hybrid vehicle, which of course has the internal combustion engine. And here, of course, we recommend to always use the biofuels. And this will have a 20-kilometer electric range in silent mode then. The next option we have is a plug-in hybrid. So basically the same as the hybrid, except you can connect it to the power socket to charge the batteries. And this has 3 batteries giving up to 60 kilometers electrical range then. Also again with biofuel on the internal combustion engine is recommended. And then the final part is of course the battery electric vehicles, the BEVs. And here we have a vehicle newly introduced up to over 250 kilometers electrical range. And of course, this is a purely electrical truck, actually, up to 26 ton to begin with. Sorry, 29 ton. Something else I want to mention here, which is very important, is not about only having the products, but actually having a complete offering in place. And from a product point of view, one of the central parts of the offer is what we call Scania Zone. And this is very important for our hybrid vehicles, where we want to be able to guarantee to the different municipalities, politicians, etc., that we are actually fulfilling the emission-free zones, low noise zones, and speed limit zones on our vehicles. So we have it's connected to the vehicles, the fleet management systems, and we have a geofencing system, basically meaning you can program that when a vehicle is drives into a certain zone in a city, then it's going to force the vehicle to go into either an electrical mode, for example, to have zero-free emissions, or, for example, to slow the speed down if you're in a 30-kilometer speed area, for example. The Scania Zone is also a crucial element for us. So finally, just to sum up, here we have the complete offering then, with the plug-in hybrid, the BEV, 5 batteries, and also a 9 battery option. You can see the different power levels and effect levels of the battery, and also the different ranges we offer. And one of the challenges for us, of course, is related to the batteries, where we see that they take up a lot of space on the frame of the vehicle. Yeah, so this is one of the challenges we're working with continuously then. And then, of course, finally, the charging time as well, which is important to think about when you're electrifying your vehicle fleet, that you really have a good infrastructure in place and take into account the charging times that are needed. So that's basically all from me at Scania here. So we thank you for the opportunity and look forward to any further questions down the track. And then just to finish then, I just want to reinforce the fact that we're really committed to electrification. This is a huge focus area for us, and we of course very much look forward to selling electrified products in Russia and hopefully the not too distant future. So thank you very much.
Hamish, thanks a lot, and very impressive. And now we will move to Elena, which mostly has to do with that 1% which Patrick talked about renewables in Russia. Elena?
That's great, yeah. That's right. Thanks a lot, Alexander. Good afternoon, everybody. Just, yeah, I'll try to, just a second, yeah. Okay. Yeah, is it okay? Can you see?
It's clear.
Okay, just yeah, just a second. Yeah. Okay, just all right. Okay. Yeah, so let me just. Okay, I'll start. So Havel Group is the biggest vertically integrated company in the field of renewable energy, basically solar energy. And we are covering the whole value chain from the starting from manufacturing, starting from R&D center. We have our own R&D center and manufacturing ourselves. So we are manufacturing solar cells and modules as well. So it's a very unique production in Europe, I would say, because this is the first heterojunction production in Europe, and so far it's the only production according to this technology. So we are 340 megawatts per year at the moment, and we are being expanding up to 1 gigawatt. So our new facility will be located in Kaliningrad, and the facility will be commissioned by 2022, by the end of the year. So we are acting as EPC contractor and both IPP producer, individual power producer in Russia. So we are investing in solar energy in Russia and abroad. So the very important figures for us now. So we are 600 megawatts operational megawatts in Russia. So this is the solar power parks we have built. So we have built ourselves, and we have 750 megawatts. This is a committed pipeline to be built in Russia. And at the moment, we have launched 100 megawatts in Kazakhstan. These are our overseas projects. And still we have a committed pipeline. We have abroad is 232 megawatt at the moment. So among this, well, in this megawatts, we also include our first European project in Hungary. These are 76 megawatts that we will build next year in Hungary. So the solar power parks will be launched there. So a little bit about our technology. This is a high efficient technology, one of the best results at the moment on the world level, I would say. So now we are producing 23.5% efficiency cells, solar cells, and this is really among the best world results at the moment. And this technology has really a potential. So potential of this technology can be developed up to 25-26% of efficiency. And talking about tandem cells, it can reach up to 30% efficiency. So what we offer actually beyond utility scale projects that I mentioned. So we do build a big solar power plants, utility scale, but we also offer a very customized solutions for all kinds of industries and customers. This you can see here, so that it can be like can be marine vehicles, it can be hybrid power plants for distant areas. You know, maybe that in Russia, it's really, there are still huge zones that are not covered by any grid. So we are building in these far distant areas and bring electricity to those places. So these are more maybe social projects. Of course, they are not bringing a lot of money, but we're really happy to bring electricity to people that do not have electricity at homes yet. And we also offer very customized flexible panels for BIPV, for vehicles. So we work with different transport producers, so automobile industries, also in Europe. Talking about R&D activities. So in R&D, so we are cooperating with one of the, with the leading institutions, European institutions such as Fraunhofer Institute, French institutes in photovoltaics and general energy institutes. And of course, we have many European partners. And thanks to Alexander, actually, we started last year. We started export to Sweden as well, and small projects so far. But we hope really to develop this direction as well. This is the slide just showing our interests abroad and in Europe. So these are the countries that where we develop at the moment new projects, solar projects. So we are ready to invest in those countries, building new capacities, solar capacities, and also, of course, so our clients, we would like to offer different products based on PV to our clients in Europe. So these are the some examples of the countries where we are starting projects right now. So some of the projects that are implemented in Russia. So already built solar power parks. Some of them. This is our newly recently commissioned power plant in Kazakhstan, and this is the geography of our shipments. Actually, we have shipped already some products to and cells and modules to Switzerland, Sweden, and Austria, Netherlands, Poland, Lithuania, and some other countries. So just an examples of our projects. So we build, as I said already, hybrid power plants, diesel solar power plants for autonomous electricity. We build rooftop power plants for hotels, for industrial clients, even for petroleum clients. So it's becoming more and more popular in Russia. It's very important. And we built actually the first floating power plant for Rus Hydro. So this year in Russia, and we hope to do this abroad as well. And these are examples here. So our reference projects abroad. So as I mentioned, the small projects, residential rooftop that we delivered modules to in Sweden. A rooftop project in Switzerland for one of the factories producing water. The parking rooftop for parking places in Thailand, and some of the on-grid rooftop power plants in India. This is one of our clients that we deliver to the solar panels. These are also applications that we are developing, as I mentioned, special vehicles, marine vehicles, flexible PV modules. So this is an example of solar boat that we built, that we delivered solar cells to Delft. This is a student team of Delft that participated actually last year in the competitions, and they actually won the competitions. And also electric vehicles, of course. So we deliver solar rooftops for electric vehicles. And yeah, this is this is our business model that we would like to offer to our Swedish colleagues. And so we are ready to offer direct supplies from Russia. We are ready to cooperate with Swedish company in Russia whenever it's possible. Of course, we would be really interested to cooperate with IKEA. And as Mr. Anthony said, we would like to contribute to the fact, well, to making solar energy more popular in Russia and CIS countries as well. And of course, we are ready to cooperate with local companies, and we are open to any conversation about like making solar energy more popular, and where we really would like to offer customized solutions to our clients, both in Russia and in Sweden. Thanks a lot, Alexander. Thanks a lot for this opportunity and for the invitation today. Yeah.
Thanks, Elena. Now we will pass to Claes Sandre of Volvo. Please, Claes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alexander. I hope my screen will come up here.
Yeah, we see it.
Just a second. Try to put it in presentation mode. So I hope that is good. Thank you, Alexander. So I will take you through a journey here of describing first the Volvo Group as a whole, later on the Volvo Group in Russia, and also touching the challenges that we are facing with the big technology shift that has been mentioned several times, also by the ambassador at the beginning here. So first of all, we feel, of course, very Russian, even though we are a global company. We are approximately 100,000 employees with the sales of approximately 400 billion Swedish crowns. We are represented with production sites, among them Russia, in 18 countries, but are present market-wise in 190 countries, so fairly global as a company worldwide. I represent personally the industrial branch of Volvo, which we call the Global Truck Operations. So here we are in different means supporting all the different brands of the Volvo groups and all the different product lines. Some of them might be recognized by you because they are, of course, represented as brands and products in Russia, but some, as you see here, are maybe a little bit unknown and seldom seen on the streets of of Moscow or elsewhere. So Volvo Group in Russia, we are, as I said, feeling very much as Russian already, as we are there since the beginning of the 70s. Trademarks were registered already 1969, and we had our first plant inaugurated 2003. But since then we have moved, and our industrial operation is now in the Kaluga region, and we have also celebrated the 10th anniversary of that Kaluga plant, as you can see here, recently. We are also feeling very much as a contributor to the Russian Federation by having new technologies being introduced gradually, and also through the different supplier activity and supplier-based development that we are dealing with. We have, of course, contributed also by different means of lean manufacturing and quality management, as well as, of course, with the products that we are offering to the market, which is supporting different branches of Russian industry. We are, of course, also contributing in the regional growth, especially in Kaluga region, but elsewhere, but also with investments and export, as Kaluga plant is one integrated portion in the Volvo global industrial system. As you can see here, the Kaluga plant is within what we call Europe and Brazil manufacturing system, and that is actually all industrial activities that is dealing with Volvo trucks and Renault trucks. And here you can see that Kaluga plays an important role in both cab production, cab trimming, and final assembly of trucks. The plant in itself has a capacity of 15,000 trucks per year, and we have some 650 employees. And we are operating in one shift and is currently producing Volvo FH and Volvo FM. Beside of that, we have, of course, a very widely spread retail network in Russia, which is also both act as a contributor to employment, but also supporting all the Volvo products in the big market. And as of last month or this month, we are also starting the sales of our new model range, which is newly introduced. And we are doing that from a rather strong position, we think. We are among the brands that are not Russian brands having the highest market share in the total region. We are, of course, as a company and as an industry in front of a big change. It has been touched upon here earlier. This change includes many different aspects. My colleague from Scania mentioned electrification. Electrification is, of course, since long already introduced by us on the bus side, but also for us, we are now marketing electrified trucks, both in Europe and in North America, and more is to come. Electrification long term is, of course, both battery electric vehicles, but it's maybe also fuel cells vehicles and other type. Autonomous driving is, of course, also something that is a trend in our industry. And on this slide, you can see it exemplified with 3 trucks driving in a row, where only the first truck is, let's say, the driving truck, and the other ones are followers, like platoon. Also, connectivity ties into what was said in the introduction on digitalization, but also what was said on geofencing and other type of keeping track of the supply chain as a whole, both for us as an OEM, keeping track of the usage of the vehicles, but also, of course, for the complete supply chain and our customers to keep track on their goods where it might reside. This slide also exemplifies, for instance, mining, which is going, of course, both autonomous, and with the help of connectivity and electrification, we are driving productivity in that business a lot by basically driving in the direction of manless mining activities, where you have just machines working connected to each other and extracting minerals and what have you to increase productivity. But of course, the internal combustion engine is not totally out. We are using internal combustion engine, of course, for propulsion with the help of alternative fuels like gas. LNG offer is something that we are working very hard with and have good offers to offer the market. Also, hybridization is, of course, something that is also helping CO2 diminishing. And also in our business, we are prepared for new business models wherever they might turn out. This is just exemplifying what might happen in a harbor environment in the future, where you have these kind of vehicles, driverless vehicles, taking the containers around for its right location for the next stop, so to say. We see as a Volvo Group many opportunities, but also some challenges in Russia. We have, through the journey that we have experienced, received very, very good collaboration and support from the Kaluga region, which is actually becoming quite of a hub for automotive competence and automotive related supplier base and OEMs. We have currently a very sizable industrial footprint system compared to other Western European OEMs that are merely importers or having KD, that is assembling of trucks that comes in big bits and pieces, so to say. And Volvo is constantly in search of improving the conditions for the industrial setup and to drive further investments. We are also seeing that the supplier base needs to improve, and we are also driving here our global requirements in order to make the supplier base in Russia fit for also exporting goods to other parts of our industrial system. And we also would like to point out here that driving for increased vertical integration and additional local sourcing, there, of course, volumes plays a big role, and it has some limitations to how low or how deep you can go in vertical integration with the volumes currently that exist for us. So with that, I would like to thank you for being invited, and I'm happy to answer questions later on, if so.
Yeah, thanks, Klaus. And now we move to Mikhail, and he would have, I believe, quite impressive transport presentation. Mikhail?
Yes, good afternoon. Is it? Nice to meet you, and let me introduce our project from St. Petersburg, where we have started it in 2018. Now we can show the real example of all electric vessel we produced in Russia, in St. Petersburg. It's EcoVolt project, catamaran. for 14 hours autonomous drive. Actually, this project started 2018 together with our engineering company, which is 15 years old, NPK MSA. It's an engineering company in the field of industrial laser cutting machines, different electronics, together with electric power trains chain, and together with high frequency power converters. All these systems were integrated into our catamaran. In 2018, our partner from Moscow, Alexander Lebedev, who is the owner of London's newspapers and former banker, London's newspapers like Independent and the Evening Standard. He invested into this project, which was called Imperium. Now Imperium is the company which owns the intellectual property for 4 types of all electric vehicles, such this one, which is EcoVolt. Then the second one is EcoCruiser. The third one is CityVolt, and the fourth one is EcoBus. All these types are just multifunctional platforms for different usage, either for rivers like EcoVolt, CityVolt, and closed shore usage exploitation. Also, EcoCruiser is fast speed catamaran for sea usage. EcoBus, it's our first example for all year exploitation. Now I want to show you this catamaran inside. This is our transforming salon, which can be converted into either passenger bus for excursions or for different special meetings with also restaurant or meetings, official one or unofficial. This catamaran has a small bar, which is also was built by our company. But the main idea and the main key advantage of this catamaran for sure is in high energy, high density, and high safe LFP cells and energy storage exploitation and usage. We put the batteries inside the floats. I'll try to show you our batteries inside. These battery cabinets were invented and fully produced in our company. So our company has the one of the most important division is energy storage divisions. This catamaran has the second deck, which is possible to install solar panel. On the exhibition in 2019, we installed here on this floor the solar panels from Havel. The previous person who introduced Havel. We get in touch with them very well. Also, we produced this console, management console for the boat. All electronic devices you can see here, it's also made by our mother company MSA. So this is one of our projects. This project should be say high economically effective, also without CO emission, totally zero emission project, and very low noise project. For example, for 8 hours sail, we spend just 240 kilowatt hours, which is in Europe about 10 to 11 euros expenses for the 8 hours drive. Now I want to show you quickly the presentation
Mikhail, sorry, I guess we have to move on now since we have other speakers. And
okay.
I would like to thank you. And just to mention, as I remember this summer, the first commercial line has started already on this vessel, and it is running successfully.
Yes, thank you very much for this time, and for sure we believe that we are ready for different cooperation and collaboration with Sweden company to make assembling such boats on your side. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. As now we move to Kai from Sweco. And Kai, please tell us what are the leading engineering technologies which are changing our world, and what are you looking for? Kai?
Thank you, Alexander. Very easy task to grab in 10 minutes. Let's see if I can just get my slide going here. Okay, so thank you so much for letting me have 10 minutes here. I was asked a question about what Alexander said, that what we see for leading technologies moving forward in our industry. And our industry is basically engineering, consulting, environmental consulting, and architectural. We claim that Sweco, that we are the largest consulting firm in Europe with about 17,500 employees. So just show you this very quick. I only have one slide of our company information, so I won't bore you with that. But very quickly, we have business. So basically, what we offer is that we plan and design and engineer the future societies, sustainable and smart societies of the future, basically, and that includes all the kind of engineering system that propel our societies, anything from structural to electrical, waste, water, transportation, industrial, and all of this with a very high level of sustainability awareness. We are let's say a Northern European company, so we have home markets in 12 Northern European countries, not including Russia, unfortunately. But originating from Sweden clearly, and throughout the Nordic countries and down southwest towards Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, the UK, and so Poland, and so on. I think probably and in addition to our 12 home markets, we do temporary export business in some 70 to 80 countries every year. And this is where Russia comes into play. And I think we've been involved in several of the projects that have been mentioned here today, both the mega stores by IKEA and maybe even Anton's hydropower stations that we've done some engineering. Anyway, so looking into what are the technologies of the future, and this is really what it starts from when you talk about Sweden and future technologies. A very, very high ambition set by both our current Prime Minister and the former Ministry of Climate and Environment, where they basically said that Sweden is going to be the first 100% renewable energy-based economy in the world. And secondly, just recently, that we are going to be a net zero emission country by 2045. And why I'm bringing this up is because this gives extreme footprints in the industry, in the academia, and all the engineering and technology development out of our country. Meaning also that when it comes to Sweco, which is involved in basically designing and planning our society, we are involved in all of the technical areas which has impacts from these ambitions set up by our politicians. So if we look at the different utility systems that are crucial to meet these goals in Sweden, some of them, I won't say that we have solved them, but we are far off, at least. We're way ahead, and the rest of the journey is basically just repeating and refining. And one of them is the waste area of Sweden, where basically if you look at this graph up right, where the black graph shows you that when it comes to waste in Sweden, we basically put no waste at all on depots anymore. All the waste we generate in Sweden is used either for energy or reused as material recycling, but we don't put any waste on depots anymore. And of course, one technology which has been very well developed is the waste to energy process that we use around the country to produce energy and replace fossil energy. When it comes to renewable energy, you can say that the same thing here, that Sweden basically, just like Russia actually in the sense of hydropower, that we basically are one of the top nations in the world when it comes to using renewable energy. And we think that, of course, now the wind-powered energy and the solar-powered energy is really peaking. But we started with this already back in the 50s with our hydropower, and this is nothing new for us. And it's just a question of doing more of the same and improving it a little bit. But the renewable energy field is not necessarily something that would impress on Russian engineers and the Russian technical society, if you like. And also when it comes to water consumption and the recycling of water, and I've chosen this picture because it's basically only looking into the European countries. Anything else would be unfair. But you can see that when it comes to recycling and use of water and recycling of water, that Sweden is by far one of the lowest users per capita of fresh water in Sweden, in Europe, and we have very sophisticated technology and behaviors to minimize the use of water. Anyway, so these three areas is I don't see these as being the future technologies that impacts the way Sweco works and the way Sweden works with engineering. I think this picture is more interesting, and this is the total emission of green gases in CO2 equivalents over the last 30 years in Sweden. And I've done a terrible job on trying to get the text in here, but basically the color of the text corresponds to the color of the pillars. And you would see that the two big areas on the far left, far right, in the middle is the light green and the purple area. And this is industry production and domestic transports. And this is where the big potential is. And I think this is for becoming fossil free and eventually getting the emissions of green gases down to low level, if not zero. So here, I think this is where the change will happen or is happening, and this is where the big work for Sweco that we do both in the home market, in our export market, is to focus on. If you look at the transport, of course, a lot has already been done, and I think this is similar to many of the challenges that we're facing in many different technology areas. It's not a silver bullet, as we used to say. It's a mix of many different solutions. And I think this one shows you very clear when it comes to getting down the emissions from the transport, that it's both a question of biofuels, of course. It's also a question of electrifications, of course, but it's also a question of transport efficiency. To get the emissions down. The best kilometer from an environmental perspective is the kilometer you never have to drive with your car or your truck. So transport efficiency is also a big issue, and there's of course a lot more to do with the remaining 30%. But just to show you that there's a big mix of components to get to the goals. No doubt that, and forgive me, Scania, for having a Volvo bus here. I'm not trying to be biased in any way, but no doubt that the vehicles and the backbone of the production and the charging and the infrastructure around it is clearly a big area to get the zero emissions, the green emissions down from the transport sector. And these are areas where, if you think about that, Sweco probably has the world's largest or second largest planning and architectural department in-house. And we are planning new cities around the world for 100,000 people, or as in China for 2 million people. You can understand that for the planning architects to plan a city made for future transport is really crucial to achieve a sustainable and zero emitting city when it comes to how to plan and how to lay out the different utility systems of the future city. But if you go to the industry segment, which I said was one of the really crucial forward-looking areas where we think technology will impact, where I also feel that perhaps from an engineering perspective, where the best cooperation potential lies between Russia and Sweden is probably in the industry section. And I'm just going to give you a few examples here of what is happening currently in Sweden when it comes to industry, basically industry revival and change. And the interesting thing with Sweden, to underline that there's so much activity going on. These news that I put on here is basically from this year, or even this last 6 months. There's things happening all the time in the country when it comes to cutting down use of fossil in the industry. You probably perhaps have recognized to the far left that our biggest refinery in Sweden has just canceled the plans to expand a mega investment of 1.6 billion US for refinery of fossil fuels in favor for producing 100% renewable product instead from pine trees of the Swedish lumber, basically. We just launched in Sweco that we were part of the world's first zero CO2 certified building that opened last month. And this is talking about the building's lifespan, including construction and including operation and including demolition. We've touched upon of course, the steel industry, and LKAB and SSAB in Sweden has a very ambitious project going on to basically get to a CO2-free steel production in Sweden, which is unique, I would say. And we also touched upon the mining business, where Sweco is heavily involved, where a lot of the Swedish mines are trying to get down to a fossil-free mining operation. And I think that in the mining is especially interesting between Russia and Sweden, and I think that in line, or because of all the electrification that is going on, and because of all the batteries needed for the electrification, the mining industry, we know, because we help mining companies around the world, the mining industry really needs to become a more clean industry in order to be able to be allowed for delivering to the battery industry. And we see this not the least in Sweden, where the Swedish initiative of Northvolt building Europe's largest battery industry in northern Sweden has put very high demands and requirements on their suppliers from the global mining industry to become a supplier to the battery industry in Northvolt in Sweden. So summing up, if you answer the question, which are the leading technologies changing your industry, and when it comes to engineering and architectural, I think for us it's definitely, which we touched upon a lot before today. Electrification is definitely an area where we see a lot of change, and it will impact our business. It is impacting our business. And secondly, fossil-free industry, both in construction, in mining, in steel, and all the other energy consuming industries. And thirdly, we see the energy storage industry. I mean, we can produce energy by wind power or solar, renewable energy, but very few of these energy solutions offers storage capacity, such as hydropower industry, for instance. So energy storage is really something that is coming up strong. It's very suitable for Sweden, of course, because we have a very old geology which allows for energy storage underground. And last but not least, of course, the digitalization is continuing, I would say, but with the big data and the AI capacity, a lot can change, and hopefully for the smarter in the future. So with that, I hope I kept my minutes for you. Thank you.
Kai, thanks a lot. And now we move to Sergey. And Sergey, being an engineering company in Russia, which technologies maybe you're lacking, and what are you in terms of sustainability? Please. Sergey. As we have some.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. But we.
Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe I need to share my presentation. So, oops. And
yeah, we see the picture of slide 1 now.
Yeah, slide 1. I'd like to show it. Yeah. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. So I hope you see it now.
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah, I'd like very much what Kai told about the engineering, how it's developing now in Sweden and in Sweco in particular, because we worked a lot with Sweco. And let's see a little bit from another angle, because the topic of our today's meeting is industrial cooperation and new opportunities. So let's see whether there are real opportunities to work together, and build up cooperation, because basically all industrial cooperation, it is about engineering. It is the most important thing, finally, if engineers speak the same language, if they understand each other. So, but, despite of this pandemic, there are still a lot of projects in the country, in Russian Federation, in such areas like pulp and paper, in chemical and petrochemical industry, in renewables, in metallurgy and mining, and also in urban development and in infrastructure. And just few examples. For example, we are developing now a huge pulp mill complex in Krasnoyarsk region. There is a Bansky gold and copper mine project in Far East. Usga, for example, it's the huge industrial cluster. It's a port, a seaport, and also the city development. It's a combination. Amur's gas refinery, for example. So, and many of these projects are developed and executed by the international teams. And there are, of course, engineers, suppliers, contractors, and there are also you know that after 2014, when the sanctions were implemented, some financial institutions, they left actually the country. They don't give a direct financing to Russia, but the structures like, for example, World Bank, they continue to render reimbursable advisory services. And some of these services include engineering as well, and this is also the part of the market. And saying what is not a surprise that all the customers who develop these projects, they still are looking for the best technologies in the world, the most let's say the best competences, the most attractive references, and also project management practices. So, and this means that engineering grants, they are very welcome in the country. So, and let's see. It is true that some international players, they left the country after 2014, but this slide just shows that there are many who still keep their footprint in Russian Federation. And they are locally established, either having daughter companies with significant local engineering resources, or they have just representative offices, and those offices are networking with the local engineering partners. Of course, the question is it a must that to work as an engineer in Russia, you need to have this local establishment? Well, it depends very much on your role in the project and, of course, what you'd like to achieve. But this local establishment is definitely required if you need to produce certain engineering documentation, and so that this documentation is legal. And to render some services, you need to be a member of so-called self-regulated organizations. And for these, you have to have the, let's say, number of staff, and this staff should be properly qualified. So, secondly, of course, which is also very important, you need to follow the local norms, standards, and let's say the other regulations. And of course, you can spend years to learn those, or you should hire the local people. And last but not least, of course, you need to be the member of local engineering society. You need to understand the local engineering practices, the environment, the behavior of the various market players. So we can say that engineering business is very international in Russia, like everywhere in the world, but it's also very local as everywhere in the world. So finally, it seems that it's not that stupid in a way to have your own daughter company or joint venture, or at least a qualified local partner if you want to achieve something on the Russian engineering market. And of course, with all these preconditions, the question is it possible or not to have a successful Russian-Swedish cooperation? The answer is yes, it can. And this is actually our story. Let's hope that this is a success story. We started, a joint venture with Sweka Group's industrial arm called Sweka Industry in 2006. And on the Russian side, the partner was a large power industry contractor with their own design resources. The start was pretty successful, and we developed fast till 2014. But then the market crisis affected us badly, as many other players in the sector. But we managed to survive, we managed to overcome this. And also following, let's say, pattern of our Swedish colleagues, we changed our strategy towards diversification from the power industry to various industries. And now we are a multi-sectoral and multidisciplinary company. And we are working in many industries. We participated in many projects. Here you see a few examples. This is the, let's say, the Sochi Olympics power plant in Adler, and factory which we designed to produce General Electric gas turbines in Renewables in Russia. And also the project is ongoing. It's the Vologda pulp mill. And this we all did in close cooperation with our colleagues from Sweco. And definitely this, let's say, we could never did that alone. And because a combination, this success is actually the result of the combination of the good engineering solutions, deep knowledge of local market, Sweco's brilliant expertise, and the brand name, of course, and fantastic teamwork atmosphere. So, though Sweco is not our GV partner any longer, but our team is still maintaining the business ethics, compliance norms, and all these things which we learned and developed together with Sweco's people during the GV time. So I would like to thank Sweco using this opportunity. Okay, a few words about the new time and some innovation which we can do. Recently, we have started a project which we call Leonardo, after the most famous engineer in the world, probably. And this is the internet platform for engineering services, a kind of year for engineers. And it links directly the customers or users of engineering knowledge with those who have this knowledge. Meaning with engineers. And what does it give to actually to the client? First, you may get say your answer to your technical questions much faster. It will be less expensive, and you can get it from the real specialists in the field. Besides, if you are running your own engineering resources, you always know how difficult it is to keep, let's say, the loading in a proper way. So you have either overloading or underloading. And now imagine you have a pool of engineers of various disciplines from various industries who are ready to work for you in their free time. Isn't it a solution for this? So the platform is in testing stage now. But we already have some 600 people in our engineering pool, so to say. And we have already fulfilled more than 400, I believe, technical tasks for one of our clients. So it works. And we continue this testing until it becomes a real platform. So if everyone is interested in the idea, welcome. I believe that's all what I would like to share with you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thanks, Sergey. And as we now move to Magnus Blomberg from AstraZeneca, and Magnus, please tell us what are the prospects of future pharma production, and are you looking for new technologies and materials, and maybe shortly what are your suggestions for Russia to become a global pharmaceutical player as well? Magnus?
Magnus, microphone, please. Microphone, please.
We cannot hear you. Magnus, we don't hear you. It has to be
Okay.
on the screen. Yeah, it is on now, I guess.
Am I unmuted now?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Alexander, for the question, and thank you for the invitation to speak. I think it's really important to engage with the wider industry about how we collaborate between Sweden and Russia. I realize we're short of time for the remaining of the session, so I'll try to keep it fairly short, and I will show no slides. I just want to say that AstraZeneca has been building our business in Russia since more than 25 years, and we have very ambitious plans to continue to support the Russian healthcare system. And the government's 2030 ambition to improve Russian healthcare system, the people's health and life expectancy. And we do that through the disease areas where we have very strong science and expertise, which is very much aligned with Russia healthcare needs. It's respiratory, it's oncology, cardiovascular and metabolic diseases. Like IKEA and other speakers today, we have a very strong sustainability agenda with a very ambitious zero carbon target for already year 2025 for our internal operation, and by 2030 for all the supply chains that we operate. We do want to drive development of the society as a whole. So linking back to what IKEA talked about, connecting to like-minded people, well, you have one here, and we're happy to engage in those kind of discussions. Now, if we look at what we do and what we plan to do, we are a driver for innovation in Russia, and we want to be. We provide both established medicines and leading-edge treatments, working with partners and healthcare professionals in Russia, but not just around the pill, but actually the whole patient journey, from bringing awareness of disease, diagnosis to treatment and post-treatment. So pharmaceutical industry is much more than just the pill these days. And one example of that, we have established a healthcare innovation center together with the Skolkova Foundation to look at a more holistic treatment, and that's also connected to a global network of innovation centers in the AstraZeneca community, one of which we have here in Gothenburg. We are also conducting clinical trials in Russia, developing products in Russia in partnership with hospitals and patient communities. And those relationships is actually what has helped us to very swiftly launch studies of the COVID-19 vaccine, where we're currently developing and actually are then testing in the Russian community as we speak. We also produce modern medicine in our manufacturing facility in the Kaluga region since 2016, as well as around 10 factories around the world supplying Russia. And if we talk about how we explore and develop our business in Russia further, I should say we decided to go in to have manufacturing in Russia in light of expected legislation change. In 2011, we took that decision, as well as entering a special investment contract with the Russian government. The experience of establishing ourselves in the Kaluga region has been very positive. We have very good support from the local government and providing infrastructure and a very sound business climate. So we're very appreciative of that. There's been many challenges of it, but we have learned about the Russian market, and we're now well established there, a good understanding how we operate. And we are now becoming more attractive for partners, global partners who wants to enter the Russian market. And this knowledge about how to operate in the pharmaceutical industry in Russia has also enabled us to very swiftly sign a contract with Airfarm as one of several contract manufacturers of our future COVID-19 vaccine. So it will actually be produced in Russia as well as exported to a number of countries. All assuming, of course, that the clinical trials get out successfully. So in this way, you could also say the COVID-19 crisis is a facilitator for new collaborations in the industry, new ways of working together with a bigger purpose in mind than just bringing business, but also supporting the whole society. So if I look ahead 5 to 10 years, I think we can see that pharmaceutical products is becoming more advanced.
highly specialized and very capital intense investments, and the life cycles are also shorter, with the science actually driving the change and the treatment practices. So this will increase the hurdle of growing the business further, because you can only have few assets around the world. So access to scientists, stable trade relations to a number of markets, including IP protection, how we manage tax in the global world, customs, logistics, as well as the convergence of regulation in the market will be important. We are aware that Russian institutes are working on this, like the Ministry of Industry and Trade, Russian export centers, and Kaluga region, which are all applaudable. But I think there are more to do to become a truly global player in Russia exporting goods. But we're also happy to engage with the working group on healthcare, which is part of the Sweden-Russia Business Council that Vladimir mentioned earlier, and further talk about how to develop healthcare systems overall. So we're very happy to play a role in that and support that dialogue. So with that, I'll stop. I'll just say stay healthy and stay safe. Take care of your health, your family, and together we can get through this pandemic. We are in Russia for the longer term, fully committed to improve people's health and build a sustainable society, well beyond just the pill. Thank you.
Magnus, thanks a lot. As now we move to our last speaker, Carl Merling, and I have to introduce him a bit. Carl is a Swedish entrepreneur working with Russia as well, and in Russia providing the financing for the projects Russian-based as well. So Carl, please tell us what are the prospects of for the Russian companies of getting international financing, and go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Alexander, for giving me the opportunity to come and present myself, my companies, and a project called Pavlovskoye. Дамы и господа, приветствую вас из города Архангельска, город воинской славы. I'm in the wonderful city of Arkhangelsk. And again, also it might be an opportunity to thank both the Russian and the Swedish embassies for their efforts to try to make travel possible between Russia and Sweden now in these very difficult times. I am not seeing the presentation myself. I don't know if anybody else is doing it. There we are.
We see it now.
Good. So I'm going to spend 10 minutes to talk about a Nordic-Russian case study called Pavlovskoye. This is a project which has been going on for some time and which is, I would say, increasing its intensity right now. And if we can move over to the next slide, this project is a project run by Rosatom, but maybe I should just tell you a few words about myself first. I've been investing in Russia for around 20 years, done so across different asset classes, both in public and private equity, real estate, infrastructure, and project finance. Pavlovskoye is a project that we are doing together with Rosatom since 2019, in which we're sort of planning and executing something called the Pavlovskoye project. Rosatom is probably familiar to most of you. For those of you who are not, it is the leader in the Russian nuclear industry. So everything somehow involving the word nuclear would probably also involve Rosatom in a country like Russia. So Rosatom has 300 enterprises, 250,000 employees, and is present actually in 50 countries. So at the moment, most notably in the Nordic countries, they are building nuclear power plants in Finland. The objective here is to work in a new field for Rosatom, because what Rosatom is doing goes beyond the nuclear. And again, I guess since the topic has been on ecology and sustainability during this seminar, this also goes for Rosatom. So 1/3 of Rosatom's projects moving on towards 2025 and 2030 is going to be beyond the nuclear sector. A lot of it is going to be renewables. This particular project, though, is beyond the uranium mining. It involves a project in lead and zinc. So if we can move on to the next slide here. So Pavlovskoye is located on Nova Zemlya. And again, for those of you who may not know where this place is, it is located in the Arctic Sea and is located in the Arkhangelsk Oblast. I just came back to Arkhangelsk having spent 10 days on Novaya Zemlya. Again, a big thanks to the Russian embassy and to Russia in general for letting me come. I'm the first foreigner together with a couple of others to go there in actually more than 100 years. So Novaya Zemlya is what's called a Zakryta Zona in Russian. So it's a closed zone for foreigners and has been so for many, many years. Many of you might also know that Novaya Zemlya was the point where nuclear bombs were tested in Russia once upon a time. So what was I doing there? Basically doing a site inspection, living and working with Rosatom on a camp in Pavlovsk, which is located on the southern part of Novaya Zemlya. So the purpose was to evaluate different alternatives for the future construction and production of a zinc lead deposit and an enrichment plant for the same. And we did so with subcontractors literally from across the world. This project is truly a global project in the sense that we have people working on it from Western Europe, North America and Asia, and even down to Australia. So it's a fantastic project to be involved in. Now, Pavlovsk might seem like a long way from Sweden, although I would argue that it is a... can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, good. I had some issues here with electronics. It might seem like a very long way from Sweden, but it is actually quite near, as you might see. And there are so many things linking this project to Scandinavia. Everything from geology down to the production and onwards to the end customer. This is truly a project which could become a game changer, not only for Arkhangelsk region, where it will become the largest taxpayer and employ thousands of people, but it will also be a game changer from Scandinavia for many different ways. Like it or may not like it. So what can be said about Novaya Zemlya? Can we move to the next slide here, please? So Novaya Zemlya is primarily still a military zone, but this project, as I said, will be one of the largest zinc projects in Russia, fourth in terms of reserves, and it will be a top future European zinc and lead mine in terms of its annual output. So right now we're in the pre-feasibility study phase. We're going over to the bankable feasibility phase in around a year from now, and hopefully construction will start after that. After that, obviously, the time is a little bit more unsure. What am I doing in the project? Can we move to the next slide, if you don't mind? So right now, my job in the project is to work on the off-taker and sales strategy. Also structuring an international consortium, which will be responsible for, in particular, the processing facility of this particular plant, the asset raising strategy, trying to raise capital, which also we are intent on doing on the international market and doing the financial modeling. So all of this would also need to something fairly new and unique, I would say, in the Russian project finance phase, especially in mining, where most of the mining projects in Russia, or many of them, have been legacy projects, and those who have not have been sponsored in some way or another by Russian banks. So the intent in this project is to try to make this an international project, not only in the way that it's planned and constructed, but also in the way it's financed. So let's move to the next slide. Here we are. This is a site visit that we made to Novaya Zemlya. I just came back yesterday night. It was a bit of an endeavor to get there, and an even bigger endeavor to get back. I have to say that this archipelago leaves impressions that you will never forget once you've actually been there. I mean, it's an amazing landscape in terms of the flora, the fauna. I mean, we saw dolphins, whales, seals, walruses, Arctic foxes, and of course, polar bears. So this is a unique area also in terms of its ecology. I was really impressed with the ambitions of Rosatom in this project, and of the high professionalism of everybody who's working on this project, from Rosatom out to all the subcontractors and suppliers. The proximity, as I said, to Scandinavia can be felt really when you land on Novaya Zemlya. As you can see, I mean, this is a this is a landscape that you might just as well have seen, for instance, in Sweden or Finland or Norway up in the Arctic North. Again, I guess time is running short, so I just wanted to leave you sort of with a quick idea of what we're doing, and if we can move over to the next slide, also sort of my general thoughts about what I think the keys to success is for Nordic companies working in the Russian Arctic, which is going to be a key part of what Russia is doing in the next 20, 30 years, again, whether you like it or not. I would say the first thing is that you have to think about when you work in Russia is showing passion about what you're doing. And I have been involved, as some of you here on the seminar know, in sort of trying to source suitable suppliers and partners, strategic partners for Rosatom in this project. And I thank you very much for the work that you have been doing. And I would say for those of you who have not been interested and would like to be so going forward, I think the first thing is to really show true interest in what's going on in this region. This concerns us all, what's happening in the Russian Arctic. And there are fantastic opportunities and also very, very difficult and serious challenges that we must all face together, whether we happen to live in Sweden or happen to live in Russia. And so by passion, I mean that you really, when you go to a meeting with the Russians, that you show that you are interested in what's happening, and also that you want to get involved as early as possible. I think this might be something to think about. The second thing is professionalism, an obvious one. You might think, but what I do think, and I have to give a little bit of criticism here to what's going on in Sweden, is that there is a lot of sort of distractions right now in the relationships between Sweden and Russia, distractions, especially from what we read in the press. We have to move on from these distractions and have to focus completely on what the business and what's going on right now. We need to change focus in, I would say, in the discussion. And I'm very happy that we got that you were able to arrange this seminar. I think it's definitely a good step in the right direction. So let's focus on the business and let's focus on the facts right now, what's going on in the Russian Arctic. The third point I'd like to point out is patience, and this is often mentioned in the Russian context. But few actually are prepared to put in the patience or don't really understand what patience means. What I mean with patience in Russia in these type of projects is that the sales cycles are extremely long. This project has been known for around 15, 20 years and has taken, and I think I feel free to say this, a few wrong turns along the way. Now, projects sooner or later happen in Russia. And it's important also to be a part of the project and to help it go in the right direction as early as you can.
Carl, there might be some circumstances with
also having gone to Novaya Zemlya, lived in a situation where basically the Russian military is running the show. You have to abide by certain formalities. I know this might seem stressful or something that maybe Swedish companies sometimes don't feel that they have time or interest in. Let's just say that formalities have to be followed, and if you don't, there's no point of being here, basically. The fourth point I'd like to point out here is about perseverance. And it's great to see all of you here. I know that many of you are, let's say, long-term players in Russia and have been around for many, many years. Kudos to you. You belong to maybe 1% of the Swedish companies who consider the Russian market. 99% of them, unfortunately, don't really pursue the opportunities. Maybe that's also kind of perseverance. In a sense, it might be kind of logical, but it's a bit unfortunate, obviously, given sort of, again, the opportunities and the challenges that we face here together. So what I think has been the problem, if I may say so, between, for Swedish companies pursuing opportunities in Russia is that they are focused very much on what Russia is right now. I think what we have to do is to start to look down the road in 10 to 20 years. What is Russia going to look like then? Projects like Pavlovsk will be an integral part of what Russia will look in 10 and 20 years. again, the mining projects are controversial, obviously in areas like this with very sensitive ecology. But I think that if we work together on this, on projects like this, and generally if we have a constructive relationship between Sweden and Russia, there are huge mutual benefits, to be reaped. So I think I spent my 10 minutes. So again, I hope now that you will pay a little bit more, pay a little attention to this project going forward. And if you have something interesting to contribute, I feel free to contact me. And I think, again, just the opportunity to go to a place that no foreigner has gone in 100 years says something about also Russia's willingness to cooperate. So thanks everyone for taking the time to listen, and thank you, Alexander Brown, for arranging the seminar.
Okay, thanks a lot, Carl. And as unfortunately we ran out of the time for a Q&A session, but I will have to summarize a bit. So maybe from impression, in the year of 1985, most of us seen the movie called Back to the Future, well, where I think the year of 2019 been shown, and as it looks now from the perspective back then, I mean, looks now more fascinating than it was presented in that movie. And what we perhaps if the movie is made today in 15 years, what would it be? And I think our Russian and Swedish companies are very might be the key to that answer, because we have a lot of inventive engineers, pharmacists, and just entrepreneurs, good and hardworking. And on this stage, I would like to end this session and thank everybody for coming and pass my word to Anton.
Thank you, Alexander. I think it was really great idea of yours, and you managed to bring so many exciting speakers. And I just want to thank all of you for your time and for sharing your thoughts of experience with us. We are very thankful to Her Excellency Ambassador of Sweden in Russia. We are thankful to Vladimir Alexandrovich for kind words about Inoprom and for your contribution. Mr. Antoni, thank you very much. Mr. Bazulov, Mr. Bennett, Yelena Bodnarchuk, Mr. Sandren, Mr. Timofeev, Kai Möller, Sergei Ulasevich, Magnus Blomberg, Karl Merling, thank you so much for your time. And let me invite all of you to Yekaterinburg to visit our main Russian industrial trade show and participate in the business program. And I just want to remind all our audience that every Wednesday we have Inoprom online session, and we try to bring interesting speakers for you and discuss very actual topics. Thank you for your attention. See you in a week. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.